Today's convocation speaker, Rich McKay, graduated from Jesuit High School in 1977, and then from Princeton University in 1981 with a degree in economics, and from Stetson Law in 1984. For decades, Rich McKay has been one of the most successful and accomplished executives in the National Football League. He has been the president of the Atlanta Falcons since 2004, and since 2011, he's been president and CEO of the franchise, which is one of the most successful in pro football. Rich has distinguished himself beyond the Falcons as one of the most prominent and influential executives in professional sports. In 2011, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell named him chairman of the league's prestigious competition committee, a committee vital to the development of the NFL, and on which Rich has contributed for nearly 2 decades. He also serves on the NFL Management Council. For those of you who can remember that far back, when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl in January 2003, you may also recall that it was Rich McKay who was instrumental in assembling that team. As general manager of the Buccaneers from 1994 through 2004, he guided the Bucs from the depths of the NFL to the pinnacle. Even more than that, Rich McKay was known for helping form the Bucs into a franchise that was engaged in community service. 2 players he drafted to the Buccaneers, Derrick Brooks and Warrick Dunn, were named the NFL Man of the Year for their charitable works. Rich started with the Bucs in 1986 as the team's general counsel, and he was named general manager in 1994. During his first draft as Tampa Bay GM, he selected Brooks and Warren Sapp, 2 of the best defensive players in NFL history. Not a bad first draft. His father, John, was the Buccaneers' first head coach in 1976. It was at that time that Rich came to Jesuit High School as a student. Later, when he was in his last year as the Bucs GM, he was able to see his oldest son, Hunter, complete his freshman year at Jesuit High School before the family transferred to Atlanta. Please give a warm, tiger welcome back to Jesuit High School to alumnus of the class of 1977, Mr. Rich McKay.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. First of all, I got a bunch of thank yous to start. I have a lot of history here at the school. I want to thank you guys for inviting me, give me a chance to come today. It's a home playoff game. We don't lose home playoff games. Let's make sure we keep on task with respect to that. Last year we lost a home playoff game in Atlanta, and I'm still not over it. I want to thank you for beating Tampa Catholic last week. I'm still a little upset is probably the appropriate word to use in this forum about my senior year. We lost to Tampa Catholic because the quarterback didn't play very well. And I know that firsthand because I was the quarterback. So I want to thank you guys as an institution for always being inclusive to your alumni. You know, when you become an alumni, you'll find out fast that you get a lot of nice letters, and every single one of them seems to have an envelope with it. But Jesuit does a really nice job of keeping you informed, being inclusive. I saw Father Hermes last year in Atlanta, you know, just doing things that really keep us in touch, and that's important to me. Most importantly, I want to say thank you to probably my class, 1977, the class that I graduated with. Why? Because when I came here, you know, for me it was a traumatic move. I was the outsider. I was a rising, I guess it was second semester junior year, and the class couldn't have been better to me, and the experiences that led to is really what I want to talk about today. But Jesuit was a special place to me. We won the Super Bowl in '03. It's amazing that Father Hermes said that was a long time ago. It didn't seem that way to me, but when we won it in '03, the first place I came to do an event with the Super Bowl trophy was Jesuit. Brought it over here, had a bunch of people take pictures. I think, quite frankly, they're still outside taking pictures with the trophy because it seemed like it went on forever, but it was what I wanted to do and the place I wanted to come back to do it. So I just want to take you through a little bit about my experience at Jesuit with the simple hope that you realize how fortunate you are to be attending the school, and as a result of attending the school, how much you should expect from yourself from this experience that you're going to get, because don't ever underestimate yourself. You're in charge of yourself, and you're in charge of your future. And I think what your parents have done, whoever's gotten you to Jesuit has given you a real opportunity, and you should expect a lot from it. For me, how did I get here? I got here because I grew up in Los Angeles. My dad was the football coach at USC. Please, God, don't tell me you think that means South Carolina. It's the University of Southern California, and very successful coach, 4 national championships, fantastic run. I was definitely a cocky kid from the West Coast. My dad decided that he was going to take an adventure and come and start an expansion franchise. You guys probably don't know the history of the franchise, but it got off to an incredibly good start. Didn't win its first game, but came right back the second week and lost that game, and then maybe the third week, and then maybe the 7th week, 10th week, 14th week, 18th week. Lost 26 games in a row. So we're 2-7 right now, and you would think in Atlanta the world has ended. You would think that we're never going to win another game. I don't quite see it that way. Having started 0-26, I see it as an opportunity to win this week. So I'm not real concerned with what the past looks like. I kind of always focus on the future. When my dad came to Tampa, I was going to stay in LA. That was all my plan. I was going to go to high school, finish my high school there. We had a really good football team. I had all my friends there. I had all that set up. I came to Tampa for one visit. I sat with my parents. We talked a little bit about what was coming up the next year, which I think my dad had figured out real fast was going to be a real challenge. I made a visit to Plant High School just to see it. I came over to Jesuit just to kind of go by it. Met with Father Bradley, who was in charge of the school at the time. And Father Bradley was one of these guys that he wasn't real warm and fuzzy. He was a little more of the intimidating type. Certainly intimidated me. And I went back to California and then decided to come here. So what happened during my senior year is, number one, my classmates were fantastic, unreal. I mean, as you guys know, what happens in classes is you have these groups, and one group's here and one group's there and one group's there, and you all get together, but you have your groups. I wasn't in any of those groups, and yet that class couldn't have been better to me. And as far as being welcoming, as far as being supportive, as far as indoctrinating me into the South, which was a little different culture than the West. And it was interesting how I was intimidated by the move, but yet I've never gone back and never would go back. I'm kind of a Southern guy now, which is amazing, not how I really perceived it. My football experience was second to none, and we didn't have a great senior year. The quarterback let us down again, but our football coach, Bill Menahan, is, to me, still an incredible idol of mine. You guys probably hear his name. You guys might see him every once in a while. Just an incredible human being as a football coach. So much that when I left college, I had a couple of choices on where to go to law school. I chose to go to Stetson, which is over in St. Petersburg. One of the reasons I went to Stetson was because I knew I could come back and coach at Jesuit with Bill and just get the experience to coach with him, be around him, and literally laugh all day as you're around him, but learn from him. And so he was very impactful for me. The lesson, I guess, from my senior year was that I would say to you guys, don't overestimate adversity. Don't overestimate these great challenges that people seem to think. There are real challenges in life. There's a lot of health issues people face that are real challenges. But for me, I had this thought when I came here that, oh man, my senior year in high school, I'm going to have to move all the way to Tampa. I hate to admit this, but my mom and I, when we went to the Encyclopedia Britannica, which none of you know what that is, but when we went to it to try to find where Tampa was, we could not find it. We were stuck on the east coast of Florida, looking up and down the east coast of Florida. We never kind of got our way to the west coast, and so we were a little intimidated by the move. Don't be. That year, my dad's team was 0-14. I lived in a completely different culture. I didn't have close friends than when I started the year. I did when I ended. And yet I think in my lifetime, I'm not sure I had a more impactful year. It changed my whole outlook. I got closer to my parents. It's the most I've ever spent time with my dad. I got to know my dad as a dad, not as a football coach. And it was a really cool thing. I was in Corral Stadium. That's assuming that it's still called Corral Stadium and Father Hermes hadn't sold naming rights. But I was in Corral Stadium. I met my wife in probably the fourth row of a JV game on a Thursday night. We dated for 8.5 years, been married 30 years. I will tell you that if you make an important decision in life, you want to make that one and you want to get that one right, which I did. So to me, what came out of it was a completely different outlook. And I get accused all the time. Sometimes in my review process, I'll always get the same review note every time. Maybe you're a little too positive. Well, I'm just not sure that I buy into that thought. I kind of came out of that senior year, came out of that experience, that the idea that the glass is not half full or half empty, it's 3/4 full all the time. And you need to understand that, because you really have some opportunities that other kids don't have. I go to the Combine every year. We interview players every year. These are players that are going to try to come into the National Football League. When you hear their stories, when you realize where they came from, when you realize the true challenges they face and have overcome to get to that moment,